Hidden deep within a peaceful countryside, surrounded by lush vegetation and rugged terrain, lies a place where water has quietly shaped the land for generations. During the rainy season, torrents of water rush down the surrounding slopes with incredible force, carving channels through the earth before disappearing into the valley below. To many, this powerful flow represents a challenge, an obstacle that washes away soil, erodes the landscape, and makes construction nearly impossible. But to an experienced builder, it represents something entirely different. It represents opportunity. Instead of resisting the power of nature, today's project is built around it. The goal is not simply to dig another pond. The mission is to transform the strongest flow of water into a permanent source of life by creating a fish pond capable of harnessing nature's energy rather than fighting against it. This is far more complicated than it sounds. Building a fish pond in an ordinary field is already a demanding task. Building one where thousands of liters of water surge through the landscape during heavy rain requires careful planning, engineering knowledge, and an understanding of the land that can only be gained through years of experience. One mistake in elevation, one weak retaining wall, one poorly compacted embankment, any of these could allow the entire structure to fail the moment nature unleashes its full strength. That is why this project begins long before the first bucket of soil is ever removed. Before the excavator starts its engine, the builders take time to study the landscape itself. Every hill, every existing water channel, every natural depression offers valuable clues. Water always follows the path of least resistance, and understanding that path is the foundation of every successful pond. Unlike modern urban construction, where engineers often reshape the environment to match their designs, rural builders have learned a different lesson. The land should guide the design, not the other way around. This philosophy has allowed communities around the world to build sustainable fish ponds for centuries, creating reliable food sources while working alongside natural ecosystems instead of destroying them. Standing beside the existing pond, it quickly becomes clear why this location was chosen. The surrounding terrain naturally funnels water toward this area, ensuring a steady supply throughout much of the year. Even during dry periods, underground seepage and seasonal runoff continue feeding the landscape. For fish farming, this natural advantage can dramatically improve water quality, oxygen levels, and long-term sustainability. But using flowing water effectively requires far more than simply digging a hole. The entire pond must be engineered with precision. Depth influences temperature, slope affects circulation, water flow determines oxygen levels, bank stability controls erosion. Each of these factors plays a critical role in creating an environment where fish can thrive year after year. With the planning complete, construction finally begins. The silence of the countryside is interrupted by the deep rumble of heavy machinery as the excavator slowly moves into position. Its steel tracks grip the uneven ground while the hydraulic arm extends toward the untouched earth. Then, with one powerful movement, the landscape begins to change. The first bucket of soil may seem insignificant, but every great project starts exactly this way. One decision, one movement, one step forward. As layer after layer of earth is removed, the builders reveal something hidden beneath the surface. Not treasure, but possibility. The rich soil tells its own story. Different colors reveal different layers formed over countless years. Dark organic material gives way to dense clay, while compact subsoil provides the stable foundation required for a long-lasting pond. Every bucket lifted by the excavator exposes another piece of the geological history beneath the landscape. Construction at this stage is about far more than speed. Although the excavator is capable of moving enormous amounts of earth within minutes, rushing the process would create problems that might not become visible until months or even years later. Instead, progress remains steady and controlled. The operator repeatedly checks the shape of the excavation, ensuring that each pass follows the original design. Corners are gradually defined. The future shoreline begins to emerge. What was once an ordinary hillside slowly transforms into a carefully planned engineering project. As excavation continues, another important principle becomes apparent. Nothing is wasted. The removed soil does not leave the site. Instead, it is carefully transported to areas where it will later become part of the pond's protective embankments. In construction like this, every resource has value. Excavated clay becomes structural support. Loose soil becomes landscape grading. Even stones uncovered during digging may eventually strengthen retaining walls or improve drainage. This efficient use of natural materials not only reduces costs, but also minimizes environmental impact. The land itself provides many of the resources needed to reshape it. Hour after hour, the excavation grows deeper. The rough outline gradually evolves into a recognizable basin. Machines move with purpose. Workers inspect the changing terrain from different angles, identifying areas requiring additional attention. To an untrained eye, the progress may appear simple, just digging, just moving dirt. But experienced builders understand that every centimeter matters. Water never forgets mistakes. If the basin is uneven, stagnant areas may develop. If the embankments are weak, erosion will eventually begin. If drainage is ignored, future storms may undo months of hard work within a single night. That is why the foundation receives so much attention. Because once water enters the pond, correcting these hidden problems becomes far more difficult. As the sun climbs higher above the surrounding hills, the first stage of transformation becomes impossible to ignore. The untouched landscape is slowly becoming something entirely new. Not through brute force, not through shortcuts, but through careful observation, deliberate planning, and respect for the natural world. This is only the beginning. The hardest work still lies ahead. The first stage of excavation has revealed the project's potential, but now the real engineering begins. Digging a hole is easy. Building a fish pond that will survive years of flowing water, heavy rain, changing seasons, and constant pressure from thousands of tons of water is something entirely different. Every successful pond begins with one invisible principle. The foundation determines everything. As the excavator returns to work, its role begins to change. Earlier, the objective was simply to remove large volumes of earth. Now, every movement becomes slower, more deliberate, and remarkably precise. The operator no longer focuses on speed. Instead, every bucket of soil is removed with purpose. The walls of the excavation begin taking shape. The floor gradually becomes smoother. The angles of every slope are carefully adjusted. To someone unfamiliar with pond construction, these changes might appear insignificant. But experienced builders know that these few degrees of slope will determine how the pond performs for decades. A bank that is too steep may collapse after prolonged rainfall. A slope that is too shallow wastes valuable land while increasing maintenance. Finding the perfect balance is both an art and a science. Meanwhile, another challenge begins to emerge. The deeper the excavation becomes, the heavier the surrounding soil presses inward. Clay that appears stable on the surface can behave very differently once large sections beneath it have been removed. Gravity never stops working. Every exposed wall must support enormous weight. Every freshly excavated section has the potential to shift unexpectedly. That is why construction advances in carefully controlled stages rather than all at once. Instead of digging to the final depth immediately, the builders constantly inspect the ground, watching for cracks, loose material, or subtle signs that the surrounding earth is under stress. This patience may slow progress, but it dramatically increases safety while protecting the integrity of the future pond. As more soil is removed, the landscape begins revealing its hidden character. Different layers of earth appear beneath the surface. Rich, dark topsoil gives way to dense, reddish clay. Below that lies compact subsoil that has remained untouched for centuries. These natural layers tell an important story. Clay is one of nature's greatest allies in pond construction. Unlike loose, sandy soil, compact clay dramatically reduces water seepage, helping the pond retain water without relying entirely on artificial liners. Many traditional fish ponds around the world have survived for generations using nothing more than carefully compacted clay. Nature often provides the best building material, if builders know where to find it. But excavating deeper creates another problem. Where should all this soil go? The answer lies all around the construction site. Nothing is wasted. Large mounds of excavated earth are carefully transported to the outer edges of the future pond. Here, they begin a second life. What was once removed from the ground now becomes the foundation of strong protective embankments. Each load is spread evenly, then compacted, then inspected, then compacted again. This repetitive process continues hour after hour. The goal is not simply to build higher banks. The goal is to create banks strong enough to resist years of pressure from both water inside the pond and rainwater flowing across the surrounding landscape. Compaction is one of the least dramatic yet most important stages of construction. Loose soil contains countless tiny pockets of air. If left untreated, these spaces gradually collapse under pressure, causing settlement, cracks, or even structural failure. By repeatedly compressing every layer, builders remove these hidden weaknesses before they become expensive problems. Construction may seem slow, but every extra minute invested today can save months of repairs in the future. Around the site, workers continue performing tasks that machines simply cannot accomplish. Armed with shovels, rakes, measuring tools, and years of experience, they refine the details left behind by heavy equipment. Small ridges are leveled, loose stones are removed, drainage paths begin taking shape, corners are sharpened, transitions between slopes become smooth and natural. This is where craftsmanship becomes visible. Machines provide power, people provide precision. Neither can replace the other. As the afternoon progresses, the overall design begins to emerge. Viewed from above, the pond now resembles a carefully engineered basin rather than an excavation site. Every curve has a purpose. Every straight section serves a function. Nothing is accidental. One of the most fascinating aspects of pond construction is that much of the engineering remains hidden once the project is complete. Visitors will admire the water. They will notice the fish. They will appreciate the beautiful surroundings. Few will ever realize how much planning exists beneath the surface. The strongest structures are often the ones people never notice. The builders also begin considering something that many first-time pond owners overlook: future maintenance. A pond is never truly finished. Leaves will fall, sediment will slowly accumulate, vegetation will grow. Occasional repairs will become necessary. That is why access routes are incorporated into the design from the very beginning. Equipment must be able to reach every important area years from now. Planning ahead prevents unnecessary problems later. As sunlight reflects from the nearby water, the construction site feels increasingly organized. The random piles of excavated soil are disappearing. Defined work areas replace chaos. Every movement has direction. Every worker understands their role. Large construction projects often appear overwhelming when viewed as a whole. But successful builders rarely think about the entire project at once. They focus on the next task, then the next, and the next. Eventually, thousands of small achievements combine into something extraordinary. The pond floor now reaches nearly its final elevation. Its deepest sections have been carefully established. Gentle slopes connect each level, creating natural circulation pathways that will eventually help distribute oxygen and nutrients throughout the water. This attention to underwater topography is critical for healthy fish production. Fish instinctively move between different depths depending on temperature, oxygen availability, sunlight, and feeding behavior. A well-designed pond provides all of these environments naturally. As construction continues, another important realization becomes clear. This project is not attempting to conquer nature. It is learning from it. Every decision follows the existing contours of the land. Every embankment respects the surrounding landscape. Every drainage channel works with natural water movement rather than against it. That philosophy transforms construction into something greater than engineering. It becomes cooperation between human knowledge and natural processes. The day slowly comes to an end. The excavator falls silent. Workers gather their tools. Freshly shaped earth now stretches across the valley where untouched ground existed only days before. The transformation is remarkable. But the greatest challenges are still waiting. By now, the project has reached a turning point. The excavation is largely complete. The shape of the pond is clearly visible, and for the first time, it's possible to imagine what this place will look like once it is filled with water and thriving with fish. But experienced builders know something that many people don't. A pond doesn't succeed because of how it looks. It succeeds because of what lies beneath the surface. Everything completed so far has been preparation. The real challenge begins now, creating a structure capable of surviving the tremendous forces that water can generate over months, years, and even decades. Unlike a building which transfers its weight downward through foundations, a pond experiences pressure in every direction. As water fills the basin, it constantly pushes outward against the embankments and retaining walls. During heavy rain, that pressure increases dramatically. Every wall, every compacted layer of soil, and every drainage channel must work together as one complete system. If even one part fails, the entire structure can be at risk. That is why the pace of construction begins to slow. Not because the builders are tired, but because accuracy has become far more important than speed. The excavator returns to the basin, but its role has changed once again. Instead of digging large sections of earth, the machine now focuses on refining details. The operator carefully removes small ridges left behind during excavation, smooths uneven surfaces, and ensures that every slope follows the intended design. Each movement is measured. Each adjustment is deliberate. To an observer, it may appear repetitive. To the builders, it is the difference between success and failure. As the pond floor becomes smoother, another important task begins around the perimeter. The embankments are strengthened. Earlier, excavated soil had been piled around the outer edges of the pond. Now those piles are transformed into carefully engineered barriers. The process is surprisingly methodical. A layer of soil is spread, it is compacted. Another layer is added, then compacted again. This continues over and over until the embankment reaches its planned height and density. Many people assume that simply piling up earth creates a strong bank. In reality, loose soil is one of the weakest construction materials imaginable. Without proper compaction, rainfall gradually washes fine particles away. Hidden air pockets collapse under pressure. Small cracks appear. Eventually, water finds those weak points and begins slowly eroding the structure from within. Water is patient. It does not need to destroy something overnight. Given enough time, even the smallest weakness can become a major failure. That is why every layer matters. The builders understand that they are not working for today. They are working for the next 10 years, perhaps even the next 20. As work continues, drainage becomes another major priority. Many first-time pond builders make the mistake of thinking only about the water inside the pond. Experienced builders think about the water outside it as well. Rainwater flowing down surrounding hillsides can become surprisingly destructive, if not properly controlled. Instead of allowing runoff to strike the embankments directly, carefully shaped drainage paths guide excess water safely around the structure. These channels may seem insignificant now, but during the peak of the rainy season, they could prevent thousands of liters of water from weakening the banks. Good engineering is often invisible. When everything works correctly, few people ever notice it. Throughout the construction site, workers continue performing delicate finishing work by hand. Machines provide efficiency. Human hands provide perfection. Small stones are removed from the pond floor. Loose material is cleared away. Edges are sharpened. Transitions between slopes become smooth enough that water will flow naturally without creating unnecessary turbulence or erosion. These finishing touches require experience more than strength. A skilled builder can recognize subtle imperfections that machines simply cannot detect. As the afternoon sun rises higher overhead, the project begins looking less like an active construction site and more like a finished piece of infrastructure. The geometry of the pond becomes increasingly obvious. Straight retaining lines contrast beautifully with the natural curves of the surrounding landscape. Deep sections blend gradually into shallower shelves. Every angle serves a purpose. Nothing exists by accident. One of the most fascinating aspects of projects like this is how they combine modern technology with traditional knowledge. The excavator dramatically reduces the amount of manual labor required. Yet the overall success of the project still depends on principles that have remained unchanged for centuries. Respect the land. Understand the water. Never rush the foundation. These simple ideas have guided successful pond builders long before hydraulic excavators or laser measuring equipment ever existed. Nature has always rewarded patience. As construction progresses, attention turns toward one of the most important structural features of the entire project: the retaining walls. Unlike earthen embankments alone, reinforced retaining walls provide additional protection in areas exposed to the strongest water movement. Stone and concrete work together to resist erosion while stabilizing the surrounding soil. Each block must be positioned carefully. Every joint must be secure. Every gap capable of allowing water to seep behind the wall must be eliminated. Water flowing behind a retaining wall can be even more dangerous than water flowing in front of it. Over time, hidden seepage weakens the foundation until sudden collapse becomes possible. Preventing that outcome requires attention to details that many people will never even see. The builders inspect every section repeatedly. Small corrections are made immediately. Nothing is ignored. Nothing is considered too minor, because experience has taught them an important lesson. Big failures almost always begin as very small problems. As evening approaches, shadows stretch across the construction site. The excavator completes another careful pass through the basin. Workers stand back for a moment, studying the progress. What once seemed like an impossible idea is now taking physical form. The pond has depth. It has structure. It has purpose. But one crucial element is still missing: water. Without water, this remains only an impressive excavation. Soon, that will change. The natural flow that inspired this entire project will finally be introduced into the carefully prepared basin. Every retaining wall, every embankment, every compacted layer of clay, every drainage channel. Everything completed so far will face its first real test. Will the design perform exactly as planned? Will the embankments remain stable? Will the strongest water become the pond's greatest strength instead of its greatest threat? Those answers are coming soon. Every construction project eventually reaches a moment when preparation ends and reality begins. For this fish pond, that moment is drawing closer with every passing hour. The earth has been excavated, the banks have been shaped, the retaining structures are nearly complete. Now every detail must work together as a single system. Because unlike concrete buildings or steel bridges, a fish pond faces an opponent that never rests: water. It may appear calm on the surface, but beneath that calm lies one of the most powerful forces in nature. Given enough time, water can carve mountains, split rock, and reshape entire landscapes. It always searches for the smallest weakness, the tiniest crack, or the loosest grain of soil. That is why experienced builders never underestimate it. Instead, they learn to work with it. As construction continues, the crew begins strengthening the sections expected to receive the greatest hydraulic pressure. These are not random decisions. Long before excavation began, the builders studied how water naturally moved through this valley. During storms, enormous volumes of runoff rushed downhill toward the lowest point. If that energy were allowed to strike an unprotected embankment directly, erosion could begin almost immediately. Instead of trying to stop the water completely, the design encourages it to flow in controlled directions. This is one of the oldest principles of hydraulic engineering. Never fight water, guide it. Throughout history, civilizations that respected this principle built structures that survived for centuries. Those that ignored it often watched their work disappear after only a few rainy seasons. Here, every slope has been designed to reduce the speed of moving water. Every drainage channel helps redirect runoff safely away from vulnerable areas. Every retaining wall shares part of the immense pressure. Nothing works alone. Everything supports everything else. As the excavator continues refining the perimeter, another fascinating detail becomes obvious. The operator rarely makes sudden movements. Instead, each adjustment is slow and deliberate. Construction isn't about removing as much soil as possible. It's about removing exactly the right amount. A difference of only a few centimeters may determine whether water drains naturally or begins collecting where it shouldn't. Precision becomes more valuable than power. Nearby, workers continue compacting sections of the embankment by hand. This repetitive work often receives little attention, yet it may be the single most important investment in the future stability of the pond. Freshly placed soil is unpredictable. It contains moisture. It contains air. It shifts under pressure. Only through repeated compaction does it become dense enough to resist years of changing weather. Imagine stacking thousands of tiny grains together. At first, they move easily. But as pressure increases, those particles lock tightly against one another, creating a surprisingly strong structure. That transformation is exactly what the builders are creating, not by adding expensive materials, but by understanding the natural behavior of soil itself. Meanwhile, the retaining walls receive their final inspection. Each stone is carefully examined, every joint is checked, loose material is removed before it can become a problem. The builders know something many people overlook. Water doesn't usually destroy structures because they are weak. It destroys them because they contain one overlooked detail. A small gap, a hidden crack, an unprotected edge. Given enough time, those tiny imperfections become entry points. Water seeps inside. Pressure builds slowly. Eventually, failure follows. That is why today's careful inspection may prevent expensive repairs years into the future. Around the construction site, the atmosphere begins to change. Earlier stages were dominated by heavy excavation. Now the focus shifts toward finishing. Large piles of excavated earth have nearly disappeared. Temporary access routes become cleaner. Equipment moves with greater confidence because the final shape of the pond is now clearly established. Looking across the site, it becomes easier to imagine the completed project. Soon, this empty basin will become a living ecosystem. The steep walls of raw earth will disappear beneath shimmering water. Fish will occupy the deeper sections. Aquatic plants will gradually establish themselves around the edges. Birds will discover a new feeding ground. Insects will return. Life follows water. It always has. This project is creating far more than a pond. It is creating habitat. It is creating opportunity. It is creating a long-term source of food and income while improving the surrounding landscape at the same time. One of the most impressive aspects of this construction is its efficiency. Almost everything used to build the pond came directly from the site itself. The excavated clay became the embankments. Natural stone strengthened vulnerable areas. Existing terrain determined the overall design. Very little was wasted. This approach reflects a philosophy that has guided successful rural construction for generations. Use what the land provides. Waste nothing. Respect everything. Modern construction equipment certainly accelerates the process. An excavator can accomplish in a single day what once required weeks of manual labor. Yet machines alone cannot create successful projects. Knowledge still matters. Experience still matters. Observation still matters. The machine follows instructions. The builder provides judgment. As afternoon sunlight begins softening into evening, the construction site grows quieter. The hardest physical work is nearly complete. Attention now shifts toward preparation for the most anticipated moment of the entire project. The first controlled introduction of water. For weeks, the builders have shaped the land around the behavior of flowing water. Soon they will discover whether their understanding was correct. Every decision made since the beginning of the project will finally be tested. Will the drainage channels perform as intended? Will the retaining walls remain perfectly stable? Will the embankments resist erosion? Only water can answer those questions. And water never lies. It reveals every strength. It exposes every weakness. As the workers finish another day, they pause briefly to look across what they have accomplished. The transformation is extraordinary. The rugged hillside that once carried uncontrolled runoff is becoming something entirely different. A carefully engineered system, a productive fish pond, a place where the strongest force of nature will soon become the foundation of new life. Tomorrow, the project enters its most exciting chapter. The empty basin that has consumed countless hours of labor will begin its transformation into a living body of water. The true purpose of every shovel of soil, every stone placed by hand, and every carefully measured slope will finally become clear. Because the greatest construction projects are never finished when the machines stop. They are finished when nature accepts them. For days, the construction site has been dominated by the sounds of engines, steel, and moving earth. Now, something begins to change. The excavator pauses more frequently. Workers spend less time digging and more time inspecting. The pace slows, not because the work is nearly finished, but because every remaining task has become critically important. The pond has reached the stage where small mistakes could have enormous consequences. This is the transition from construction to preparation. And preparation determines whether the pond will succeed for years or struggle from its very first season. Walking around the newly completed basin, the builders carefully inspect every section of the shoreline. The embankments are examined from multiple angles. Freshly compacted soil is checked for weak spots. Drainage channels are cleared of loose material. Even the smallest irregularity receives attention. To many people, these final adjustments may seem unnecessary. After all, the pond already looks complete, but experienced builders understand something that beginners often overlook. A pond is never judged while it is empty. Its true quality becomes visible only after it holds water. Every flaw hidden beneath dry soil will eventually reveal itself. That is why this stage demands patience rather than speed. One last correction today can prevent weeks of repair tomorrow. As the final grading continues, the pond floor begins to resemble a carefully sculpted landscape beneath the future waterline. Gentle underwater slopes connect the deepest basin to the shallower edges. These transitions may appear simple, but they serve several important purposes. They improve water circulation. They create different temperature zones. They provide natural movement paths for fish. They reduce stagnant areas where poor water quality might otherwise develop. Every contour has been shaped with long-term function in mind. Healthy ponds are designed beneath the surface. What people see above the water is only part of the story. Meanwhile, another essential feature quietly takes shape: the inlet. This is where the strongest natural water flow, the very reason this location was chosen, will eventually enter the pond. Designing the inlet requires careful balance. If water enters too quickly, it can erode the pond floor. If it enters too slowly, circulation becomes poor. If sediment is allowed to accumulate unchecked, maintenance problems will appear much sooner than expected. Instead of allowing nature to behave randomly, the builders gently guide it. Water will still follow gravity. It always does. But now it will do so along pathways carefully prepared to protect the structure rather than damage it. This simple idea has shaped water engineering throughout history. The greatest builders never tried to overpower rivers. They learned how to cooperate with them. As work continues, the retaining structures receive one final round of reinforcement. Concrete settles into every remaining gap. Stone walls become increasingly solid. The transition between natural ground and engineered structures is carefully blended to reduce future erosion. Nothing is rushed, because this is the stage where hidden quality is created. The strongest construction projects often appear ordinary. Their strength exists where nobody can see it, inside the compacted earth, behind retaining walls, beneath the waterline. This invisible engineering is what allows structures to survive long after the construction equipment has disappeared. Nearby, workers begin cleaning the entire construction site. Temporary soil piles are removed, construction debris is collected, working paths are leveled. The transformation is remarkable. Only a short time ago, this area was filled with heavy machinery, loose earth, and constant activity. Now, it begins looking less like a work site and more like a finished landscape. The surrounding forest seems almost untouched. Birds continue flying between the trees. The wind moves gently across the vegetation. Nature has patiently watched every stage of construction. Soon, it will reclaim the silence. One of the most impressive aspects of this project is its respect for the existing environment. Instead of clearing unnecessary land, the builders preserved much of the natural vegetation surrounding the pond. This offers several long-term advantages. Tree roots help stabilize nearby soil. Plants reduce erosion during heavy rainfall. Natural shade helps regulate water temperature. Wildlife continues using the area without significant disruption. The finished pond will become part of the ecosystem rather than replacing it. That philosophy is becoming increasingly important throughout modern aquaculture. Sustainable fish farming depends not only on healthy fish, but also on healthy landscapes. As the afternoon progresses, the builders begin preparing for one of the most anticipated moments of the entire project: the first controlled introduction of water. For weeks, everything has existed only as potential. The basin, the embankments, the retaining walls, the drainage system. Soon, every one of these components will perform its intended purpose simultaneously. This is the moment every builder quietly anticipates, not with excitement alone, but with confidence earned through careful preparation. The first flow of water enters slowly, almost cautiously. There is no dramatic flood, no sudden rush. Instead, the builders allow nature to do exactly what it has always done. Water begins searching for the lowest point. It spreads gently across the carefully shaped floor. Tiny streams merge together. The dry earth gradually darkens as moisture penetrates the compacted clay beneath the surface. Everyone watches closely, not because they expect failure, but because this is the first true inspection that no human can perform. Only water can verify the design. The pond begins answering every question asked during construction. Does the floor drain correctly? Yes. Do the slopes guide water naturally? Yes. Do the embankments remain stable? Yes. Does the retaining structure hold its shape? Yes. Each passing minute builds confidence. The builders continue observing quietly. Water rarely reveals every answer immediately. Some problems appear within minutes. Others require hours. Still others may only become visible after several heavy storms. That is why experienced builders remain patient even after the first successful filling begins. Construction may be complete. Observation never ends. As evening approaches, reflections begin forming across the growing surface of the pond. The surrounding trees now appear mirrored in calm water. The sky itself seems to become part of the landscape. For the first time, the project truly looks alive. The empty excavation has disappeared. In its place stands something entirely different. A functioning aquatic environment. A carefully engineered system built around one of nature's most powerful forces. The strongest water that once carved through this valley has now become the source of its newest life. But one important chapter still remains. Building the pond was never the final goal. The pond exists for a reason. Soon it will begin its true purpose, supporting healthy fish, creating opportunity, and proving that thoughtful engineering can transform even the most challenging landscape into something extraordinary. The sound of construction has finally begun to fade. For weeks, this valley echoed with the deep rumble of engines, the scrape of steel against earth, and the steady rhythm of determined work. Every day brought another visible change, another improvement, another step closer to the vision that existed only in the minds of the builders. Now, something remarkable begins to happen. Nature quietly starts reclaiming the space. The machinery grows silent. The dust slowly settles. Fresh water spreads across the carefully prepared basin, covering every contour that took countless hours to shape. For the first time since construction began, the pond looks less like a project and more like a living part of the landscape. This is the reward for patience. Building a fish pond is never about creating a hole in the ground. It is about creating conditions where life can flourish. Water is only the beginning. Soon, microscopic organisms will begin colonizing the pond. Algae will establish the first links in an entirely new food chain. Beneficial bacteria will naturally develop inside the soil and along submerged surfaces, helping maintain water quality by breaking down organic waste. Tiny aquatic insects will discover the water almost immediately. Before long, frogs, dragonflies, birds, and countless other species will become regular visitors. Without anyone planting a single seed or releasing a single wild animal, nature begins rebuilding an ecosystem almost on its own. That is one of the greatest miracles of freshwater. Where water exists, life follows. The builders continue walking around the shoreline, carefully observing every section. Even though the pond has begun filling successfully, their work is far from finished. Experience teaches them that the first few days are among the most important in the entire life of a pond. Small adjustments made now can prevent years of future maintenance. They study the waterline, watching carefully. Is the water rising evenly? Are there signs of unexpected seepage? Does every drainage outlet function correctly? Has any section of the embankment begun settling? These observations may seem simple, but they reveal the true quality of everything completed over the past several weeks. Unlike concrete buildings, ponds cannot hide their mistakes. Water exposes everything. If a slope is uneven, water shows it. If soil has not been compacted properly, water reveals it. If drainage was poorly planned, nature quickly provides the evidence. Fortunately, the careful preparation undertaken throughout this project begins paying dividends. The embankments remain stable. The retaining walls show no visible movement. Water settles naturally into every section exactly as intended. Every successful observation increases confidence. Meanwhile, sunlight begins interacting with the pond in fascinating ways. Morning light reaches the shallower edges first, gently warming the upper layers of water. The deeper basin remains cooler, creating natural temperature differences that will eventually benefit the fish. This variation is not accidental. Different fish species instinctively move between warm and cool water depending on weather, feeding activity, oxygen availability, and even the time of day. By designing the pond with multiple depth zones, the builders have created a more natural environment where aquatic life can regulate itself instead of depending entirely on artificial management. Good design allows nature to do much of the work. Around the pond, the surrounding vegetation begins reflecting across the calm surface. Trees that once overlooked dry earth now stand beside open water. Their reflections dance gently with every ripple created by the breeze. The landscape feels different, more complete, more balanced, almost as though the pond had always belonged here. This harmony between engineering and nature is perhaps the project's greatest achievement. Nothing appears forced, nothing feels artificial. Instead of dominating the environment, the pond complements it. That philosophy has become increasingly important in modern aquaculture. The healthiest ponds are rarely those built with the greatest amount of concrete or machinery. They are the ones designed to cooperate with natural systems. Healthy water, healthy soil, healthy surrounding vegetation. Together, they create conditions where fish require fewer interventions and thrive more naturally. As construction equipment gradually leaves the site, another chapter quietly begins: maintenance. Many people believe a pond is finished once it holds water. Experienced fish farmers know the opposite is true. The pond has only just begun its life. From this moment forward, observation becomes part of everyday management. Water levels will change with the seasons. Rainfall will occasionally raise the pond above its normal operating level. Dry weather may lower it. Leaves will fall from nearby trees. Sediment will slowly accumulate on the bottom. Aquatic plants will establish themselves around the edges. Each of these changes is natural. None should be feared. Successful pond management is not about preventing change. It is about understanding it. The builders know that the pond they see today will not look exactly the same 1 year from now, nor should it. A healthy pond is always evolving. Fish grow, plants mature, water chemistry stabilizes. Microorganisms establish delicate ecological balances that improve naturally with time. Patience remains just as important after construction as it was during excavation. Looking across the finished pond, it becomes difficult to imagine how much effort was required to reach this stage. Thousands of cubic meters of earth were moved. Countless hours were spent shaping slopes invisible beneath the waterline. Every embankment was compacted layer after layer, every retaining wall inspected repeatedly. Each decision built upon the previous one. None of it happened overnight. Great construction rarely does. The strongest structures are usually built slowly, carefully, thoughtfully. This project demonstrates that principle beautifully. By respecting the land instead of fighting it, by studying water instead of fearing it, by using natural materials wherever possible. The builders have created far more than an artificial pond. They have created an environment capable of supporting life for many years into the future. Yet one final stage still remains. The construction is complete. The ecosystem has begun forming. Soon, the pond will fulfill the purpose for which it was created from the very beginning. Fish will enter the water. Nature and engineering will finally come together. And the months of planning, excavation, and careful craftsmanship will begin producing something far more valuable than a finished project. They will begin producing life itself. The hardest part of the journey is over. Weeks ago, this was nothing more than an untouched piece of land shaped only by rain, gravity, and time. Every storm sent powerful streams of water racing through the valley, carrying soil away and leaving the landscape unchanged year after year. Today, that same water has found a new purpose. Instead of disappearing downstream, it now collects inside a carefully engineered pond, a resource that has the potential to provide food, income, and stability for many years to come. This is the true meaning of the project. The pond itself is not the destination. It is only the beginning. Every successful fish pond represents an investment in the future. Unlike annual crops that must be planted again each season, a properly managed pond becomes a long-term production system. With clean water, healthy fish, and regular maintenance, it can continue producing valuable harvests year after year. That is why so much attention was given to the foundation. Strong foundations create lasting opportunities. As the water continues settling into its natural level, the builders perform one final walk around the entire perimeter. They move slowly, observing, listening, looking for anything unusual. Construction may officially be finished, but experienced builders never stop inspecting their work. Small details often reveal the overall quality of a project. The shoreline remains stable, the retaining walls show no signs of movement, the embankments hold their shape exactly as intended. Drainage channels remain clear and functional. Every successful observation confirms the countless hours invested during construction. This quiet inspection carries a deeper meaning. The builders are not simply checking the pond, they are confirming that nature has accepted it. Because no engineer, not even the most experienced, has the final word. Nature always performs the final inspection. If the land rejects the design, failure follows. If the design respects the land, the project begins a long and successful life. Fortunately, this pond appears to have earned nature's approval. The water sits calmly against the carefully shaped banks. There is no uncontrolled erosion, no sudden collapse, no visible signs of structural stress. The planning has paid off. Standing beside the finished pond, it becomes easy to overlook how much knowledge is hidden beneath the water's surface. The smooth shoreline appears simple. The calm water looks effortless. Yet beneath that peaceful appearance lies an extraordinary amount of engineering. Every underwater slope influences water circulation. Every change in depth affects temperature. Every compacted layer of clay helps retain precious water. Every drainage channel protects the embankments during heavy rainfall. None of these details demand attention. They simply perform their jobs quietly, day after day. That is the hallmark of excellent engineering. When something works perfectly, people rarely notice it. The pond now enters an entirely new phase. Instead of construction, management begins. Soon, healthy fingerlings will be introduced into these waters. At first, they will be almost invisible, tiny fish exploring their unfamiliar environment. But over the coming months, this pond will provide everything they need. Fresh oxygen-rich water, natural food organisms, stable temperatures, protected shelter. Every decision made during construction was designed with this moment in mind. Healthy fish require healthy environments. Healthy environments require thoughtful engineering. The two can never be separated. Around the pond, life has already begun responding to the changes. Dragonflies hover just above the water's surface. Small birds arrive to investigate this new source of fresh water. The surrounding vegetation appears even more vibrant, reflected in the calm pond. Nature wastes no time. It recognizes opportunity immediately. What was recently a construction site has become part of a much larger ecosystem. This transformation reminds us of something important. Human construction does not always have to replace nature. Sometimes, it can strengthen it. When projects are designed with respect for the environment, they often create habitats rather than destroy them. The pond becomes home not only for fish, but for frogs, insects, birds, aquatic plants, and countless microorganisms invisible to the human eye. Each plays an important role. Each contributes to the balance of the ecosystem. The builders understand this relationship. Success is measured not only by the strength of the embankments or the depth of the water. It is measured by how well the pond continues functioning long after construction ends. That is why maintenance will remain part of the story. The embankments will continue being inspected after heavy storms. Drainage channels will occasionally require cleaning. Vegetation will be managed carefully rather than removed completely. Sediment will slowly accumulate over time and may eventually need to be removed. These are not signs of failure. They are signs of responsible ownership. Everything built by humans requires care. The strongest structures are those that continue receiving attention long after they are completed. As evening approaches, golden sunlight spreads across the water. The pond reflects the surrounding hills like a mirror. The sounds of construction have been replaced by something much quieter: flowing water, rustling leaves, birdsong. It is difficult to imagine that only a short time ago this peaceful landscape was filled with heavy machinery and constant activity. Now, only the results remain. This project demonstrates a timeless lesson. Progress is rarely created through dramatic moments. It is built through consistency. One careful measurement, one bucket of soil, one compacted layer, one stone placed correctly, one decision made with patience instead of haste. Thousands of small actions eventually create extraordinary results. The pond standing here today is proof of that principle. Yet one final chapter still awaits. The machines have completed their work. The builders have fulfilled their vision. Now the story belongs to the pond itself. Because the greatest measure of success will not be today's appearance. It will be the years that follow, the seasons it survives, the fish it supports, the families it benefits, and the reminder it leaves behind that when human determination works together with nature rather than against it, even the strongest water can become the foundation for a better future. Every great project eventually reaches a quiet moment. The machinery is gone, the tools have been packed away, the workers return home, and for the first time since construction began, silence fills the landscape. Only the gentle sound of flowing water remains. Looking across the finished pond, it's difficult to imagine how dramatically this place has changed. Not long ago, this was simply another piece of rugged countryside where rainwater rushed through the valley without purpose. Every storm carried precious water away, disappearing downstream before it could provide lasting value. Today, that same water tells a completely different story. Instead of being wasted, it has been captured. Instead of causing erosion, it now supports life. Instead of leaving the valley, it has become the heart of a new ecosystem. That transformation did not happen by chance. It happened because someone looked at a problem and saw an opportunity. Many people look at fast-moving water and see danger. Experienced builders see potential, because water itself is never the enemy. The real challenge has always been understanding how to live with it. Throughout this project, every decision reflected that philosophy. The builders never tried to force nature into submission. Instead, they carefully studied the landscape. They observed how water naturally flowed during different seasons. They respected the existing terrain. Rather than redesigning the valley completely, they allowed the valley to influence the design. This simple idea is one of the oldest lessons in engineering. The strongest structures are those that work with nature instead of against it. That lesson can be found throughout history. Ancient irrigation systems, mountain rice terraces, traditional reservoirs, stone canals that continue functioning hundreds of years after they were built. Each one succeeded for the same reason. They followed the land, not the other way around. Standing beside this finished pond, that wisdom is easy to recognize. Nothing feels unnatural. The shoreline blends smoothly into the surrounding forest. The embankments follow the natural contours of the valley. The water reflects the sky as though it has always belonged here. It is difficult to tell where nature ends and careful engineering begins. Perhaps that is the greatest compliment any construction project can receive. The pond doesn't dominate the landscape, it completes it. Soon, this calm water will support far more than fish. It will attract birds searching for food. Dragonflies will patrol the surface. Frogs will find shelter along the shoreline. Beneficial insects will multiply. Microscopic life will flourish beneath the surface. Every drop of water will become part of an intricate web of life that did not exist here before. Nature wastes nothing. Every opportunity is quickly filled. That is why water has always been one of Earth's greatest creators. Where clean water exists, life follows. For the people responsible for this project, the pond represents something even more meaningful. It represents security. Fish farming is more than an agricultural activity. For many rural communities, it provides an important source of protein, additional income, and long-term financial stability. Unlike crops that depend entirely on one growing season, a well-managed pond continues producing value throughout the year. Every healthy fish harvested months from now will be connected to decisions made during these early stages of construction. Every successful season will reflect the patience invested in building strong foundations. Success rarely begins at harvest. It begins during preparation. This project demonstrates that truth beautifully. Thousands of cubic meters of earth were moved. Hundreds of individual decisions were made. Every embankment was compacted layer by layer. Every retaining wall was inspected repeatedly. Every slope was carefully refined. Most viewers will never notice those details. They will see only calm water, healthy fish, beautiful scenery. But beneath that peaceful surface lies countless hours of invisible work. And that invisible work is precisely what makes the visible success possible. As the sun slowly begins setting over the surrounding hills, golden light stretches across the surface of the pond. The reflections become softer. The breeze creates gentle ripples that spread across the water before disappearing into the shoreline. It feels peaceful. But beneath that peaceful appearance, the pond is already working. Groundwater slowly interacts with the surrounding soil. Oxygen begins dissolving into the water. Tiny aquatic organisms start colonizing submerged surfaces. Nature never pauses. Even when everything appears still, life continues. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this entire journey has nothing to do with excavators or engineering. It is about patience. In today's world, we often expect immediate results, but nature has never worked that way. Forests require decades. Rivers shape mountains over thousands of years. Healthy ecosystems develop gradually. Great construction follows the same principle. There were no shortcuts here, no miracle solutions, no single dramatic moment that completed the project overnight. Instead, success was built through thousands of small actions repeated consistently. One bucket of soil, one carefully measured slope, one compacted layer, one reinforced wall. One thoughtful decision after another. Progress often looks slow while it is happening. Only when we look back do we realize how extraordinary the transformation has become. This pond now stands as proof of that idea. It reminds us that determination is stronger than difficult terrain. Planning is stronger than uncertainty. Patience is stronger than haste. And knowledge is stronger than brute force. The strongest water in the valley once carved away the land. Now, that same water sustains it. This project did not defeat nature. It learned from it. It respected it. And because of that respect, the land has given something back. A place where fish will grow. A place where wildlife will gather. A place that will continue providing value long after the memory of construction has faded. Every ripple across this pond tells part of that story. A story of vision, of hard work, of craftsmanship, of patience, and of the remarkable relationship between people and the natural world. The machines may have fallen silent. The builders may have completed their task, but the real journey is only beginning. Because from this day forward, the pond will continue writing its own story. One season after another, one generation after another, powered by the same force that inspired this project from the very beginning, the endless flow of water.